And now it's
I am joined by Robert Griffin III, James White, Field Yates Meanakeims.
All right, so first play we're going to look at 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
Hey, still muted. What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media. Back with another episode of Pat's Daily. We tried something new on the back end. Nothing really worked. I'm still frozen. I'm still muted at the front, but that's okay because we figured it out last week on how we're going to do our film review. And today we're back with another one. It's Tuesday, which means it's Tape Tuesday. And me and Taylor are here to break down Patriots versus Seahawks. The Patriots lose 23-20. Still, obviously, a lot to take away once you check out the All-22. Taylor did so to the fullest. I did so a little bit. I got a little bit of a gist of it. I didn't break it down as fully as he did, but I did take a look at some stuff. So we're going to break it all down. We got four sort of storylines about how this game went down, what the Patriots can take of it good, what the Patriots can do from it, and try and improve. But before we dive into it, Taylor, a couple things around the team, non-film wise, a couple roster moves, a couple injury reports, and so we'll start with the roster moves before we get into the injury, and that is that the Patriots finally signed Michael Jordan to the 53-man roster yesterday. He started the first 2 games with Sidy Sow out at left tackle, and they also signed safety Mark Perry and cornerback DJ James to the practice squad. And they also released AJ Thomas and somebody else. I can't remember the other guy's name, but I think that sounds right. So, but the most important one, obviously, here being Michael Jordan gets elevated to the 53. They make that official. Now, I wonder if that is simply roster logistics because, you can only get 3 elevations. He used his first 2. After the third one, he can't come up anymore. I also wonder if, what it means for the health of Sidy Sow because they still want Jordan there to be that guy. And now, granted, we haven't heard much on Sow. He hasn't been placed on IR yet. If he misses the first 4 games, that's going to make me mad because you could have just put him on IR and kind of saved a roster spot. Now, that's just roster gymnastics and logistics. But long story short, Patriots elevate Michael Jordan. What do you think of it? Do you like the move? He's played pretty well over the first couple weeks. He's probably been maybe not their most consistent their most consistent lineman. That's obviously been David Andrews. But thoughts on Jordan being officially on the active roster?
Yeah. One, also, I got to correct myself. It was Jacqueline Roy's nose tackle that they recently signed. They let go of AJ Thomas and Evander Rigby.
That's the one. Okay. Yeah.
That's what it was. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't putting bad news out there. But yeah, Michael Jordan's probably been their quietest offensive lineman and someone who really hasn't been getting a lot of crap. And he shouldn't be because honestly, he's been solid for a guy who started on the practice squad and had to be elevated originally. He's given them some pretty quality play. We'll get into it, but his run blocking with Dave Andrews looked really good at times. He's still very much a work in progress, but we've heard Andrews and offensive line coach Scott Peters mention how he's taken to this system and is really trying to get better. And he's even mentioned how it's helped him improve in his awareness of different techniques. And it's shown. Now, obviously, Sidy Sow is the guy you'd like to have out there. He was having some glaring mistakes at times in the preseason, but still the highs looked high, and you could see that he was clearly growing and taking on to Scott Peters' strike system with the independent hand use, with getting guys on the ground even when he was in pass protection. So, again, I don't think you want Michael Jordan out there for another month if you can help it. But if they had to, considering, how awful it would be if you knew, going into the summer that Sidy Sow was going to miss time. I think a lot of people would have been panicking, especially if you said that Mike Nwenu was spending time at right tackle. So, they could do a lot worse than Michael Jordan. And I think they're really lucky that he was one of the first guys that they actually brought in for this new regime.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. It's funny you say it that way because if we looked at this team throughout, in the middle of July and it was like Michael Jordan is their starting left guard, we probably all would have panicked, and maybe rightfully so at that time. But he really got thrown into the fire here really late and has been drinking through the fire hose and done so pretty well. And he does so well enough to be on the active roster, right? I mean, Sidy Sow gets hurt in the last preseason game. Then they cut Michael Jordan. He ended up coming back on the practice squad. So he, in theory, didn't do enough to make the team, but, stood with it, plays well when he's elevated, and, now gets rewarded for it. So if anything, his play has warranted him, I guess, that sort of swing guard role, right? When Sidy Sow comes back, someone that they can rely on in a pinch and come in and take a couple snaps. Now, Cole Stranger's obviously someone who you watch to see if he can ever come back at that position. City So, we'll see what happens there. But for now, it looks like it's going to continue to be Michael Jordan, at least this week on a short week coming up against the Jets. Now, speaking of people coming back for a short week against the Jets, it sounded like linebacker Ja'Whaun Bentley that was going to be the case. Jeremy Fowler reported early on yesterday that the Patriots were optimistic about Ja'Whaun Bentley's shoulder injury and that it didn't seem serious and that they thought that he could come back against the Jets on Thursday. But then it was reported later on that evening, or yesterday evening, from Ian Rappaport that Bentley's actually done. If you haven't heard already, which I'm sure you probably have, but this is your first time hearing it, Ja'Whaun Bentley is done, at least according to Ian Rappaport, for the season with a torn pec. Now, it's been followed up with reporting from, I believe, Chris Price had it from the Boston Globe.
Pulled it up, yeah. You want me to read the exact thing?
Yeah, go for it. He checked around and found out a little bit better of news.
So Pricey said, per a league source, the knee injury that offensive tackle of I'm sorry, that was Vidarian Lowe. I'm looking at a different thing. Sorry, he was it? Yeah, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. I reported a couple of really good reports from Pricey. But on Bentley, just connected with the team source who confirmed the linebacker would be out for an extended period of time, but added it might be premature to say the season. So I guess another injury update that's relevant there is Vidarian Lowe is considered day-to-day. We were thinking that Caden Wallace might have to start at left tackle. So those are two pretty big injury-related pieces of news. This Bentley stuff is really bizarre that we've gotten, from two verified and very well-known reporters that he was going to be okay, and now he's not. And now Chris Price, who obviously is very close to the team in his own right, is saying that it's not that bad. So, I have no idea what's going on, but we do have to say to ourselves what happens if Bentley does, obviously miss extended time, but obviously the season as well. Jelani Tavai told us in the summer, I specifically asked him, do you want to have a bigger role in the dime package? Because usually Ja'Whaun Bentley, when they go with like 7 defensive backs, is the only linebacker that they'll have on the field. Last year, when he got hurt for a couple games, that became Jelani Tavai, and he said that he would like to be on the field for every down for this team. Now, this season, it was more of the same. He was really only on the field for their nickel packages when they did have those 2 linebackers where he can play on the ball, off the ball, whatever. Now, I think Jelani Tavai is going to have that dime linebacker role. His role in nickel is still going to be the same. I think Raekwon McMillan steps up like we saw last week as that main Mike linebacker that we saw from Ja'Whaun Bentley, where he doesn't really play on the line of scrimmage. He's usually like rock solid in the middle. And then from a communications perspective, we know that Kyle Duggar got the green dot once Ja'Whaun Bentley went down. Gerard Mayo said that Duggar did a really great job. Obviously, he's been in this defense for years. Very few people know it better than he does. So those are the adjustments the Patriots are probably going to have to make. Joe Giles Harris could potentially be elevated from the practice squad. They do have Christian Ellis, who did have some good moments in the preseason, but he's also more of a special teamer. And I feel like Joe Giles Harris in the NFL does have more experience as an actual linebacker, got his hands on a ton of passes over the summer. So just some moves that we could potentially see them make at the linebacker level. Also interesting that Andy Rigby got cut, a practice squad linebacker, to make room for a cornerback and a safety. But DJ James and Mark Perry, on another note, 2 guys that I really like for the Patriots in the pre-draft process as developmental pieces. So, Ja'Whaun Bentley would obviously be a massive loss as a captain and a leader and someone who does so many things that he doesn't get a lot of credit for on this defense. But they are in good hands with Jelani Tavai. If Raekwon McMillan is healthy, I think he can be solid in that role. And obviously the hope is that Sione Takitaki at some point comes off the PUP list and can slide into one of those kind of roles and give them some more flexibility.
Yeah, two quick notes on Bentley again before we get into the actual film from Sunday's game is just the communication standpoint that you mentioned is a whole nother hurdle. And now I know Duggar took it over during the game and it seemed like things went rather smoothly, but when you work on how you're going to call your defense for an entire summer, and it's really the last couple seasons Bentley's been out there as that guy, and you have to turn that entire thing over to somebody new on a short week. That's going to be a challenge. Now, I'm sure they practice for things like this, and Duggar kind of sits in the wings and understands that this is what I'm going to have to do if my number's called for this role. But that's just an added layer to the on-field stuff at the linebackers position is also actually getting the plays in and understanding who's where and when and how and et cetera. So that's something of note. And then the other thing on the reporting, someone tweeted something like, is this the Patriots trying to sniff out a rat in the building and figure out who's actually leaking to sources and who knows what? But my take on it was simply Fowler got a report early in the day from somebody inside the building. They didn't think anything was wrong. They thought that he was going to be okay. Then they go for second opinions. Then they go for further testing, an X-ray, an MRI, whatever it could have been, to figure out that no, his pec is actually torn and this is going to be more serious. So that's kind of been my read on it. I don't know if that's true, but I don't think this is anything where anyone was given false information or somebody was putting out false information. I feel like simply news changed. Fowler got something early. Rappaport comes out later, and they go from there. But yeah, tough news in general that at least from the look of it, Bentley's going to miss at least an extended period of time on the defense. So that is that. All right, Taylor, let's dive into the film. But before we do, quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks, because Prize Picks, now that football is back, Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. And unlike the other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player strat projections, watch the winnings roll in. Admittedly, on a little bit of a cold streak, Taylor, with our Prize Picks CLNS picks last night. Kirk Cousins, that last drive, put him at more than 225.5 passing yards. I had him at less, unfortunately. He didn't look great in that game, but that Philly defense down the stretch, they couldn't get anything done on Atlanta. Cousins goes down, dinks and dunks, scores the game-winning touchdown to Drake London. So lost last night's lineup, but hoping to get more going on Thursday night, Patriots versus Jets. So if you download the app today right now, you can make a lineup for Pats versus Jets, but you can also add Caleb Williams at just over a half a passing yard as a free square right now through the entire month of September. So make sure you go do that. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. So make sure you head over there today and get to it. Download the app. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive that bonus. You get it guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, I'm pulling down the video. Now we're messed up, but it doesn't matter, Taylor, because we're going to pull up some film on Patriots versus Seahawks. So the way we're going to try and tell the story here is look at some of the good stuff, then look at some of the bad stuff. So they lose the game. So obviously there's things to improve, but let's look at first and foremost, Christian Gonzalez, how he matched up against DK Metcalf. And we wrote a little bit about this, Taylor, on CLNSmedia.com. So you may have already read it on there. You may have already seen it on Twitter. But we're going to dive a little deeper here into how Gonzo originally in this game, DK Metcalf had his number, got physical with him, and then Gonzalez bounced back, comes back to his strengths, uses, frankly, his great cornerback technique, bounces back and is able to cover him up. And, down the stretch, I think in the final stat line was that Gonzo only let up like 3 catches on him when he was in coverage compared to the 10 for 100 yards and a touchdown that DK actually had. So how did he do it? Pull it up and let's talk through it.
Yeah, so this is another game where Christian Gonzalez was the main person shadowing, not only the main person, he was the person shadowing DK Metcalf throughout the game. We saw that against Jamar Chase. Once again, for the second week in a row, the only time you didn't see Christian Gonzalez on DK Metcalf was when the Patriots were playing cover 2, and Gonzalez was one of those cloud or flat defenders with DK Metcalf somewhere in the slot. So they continue to trust Christian Gonzalez on an island in these big moments. Early on, honestly, it was not pretty for Christian Gonzalez, and we're going to see that here. I'm not going to harp on any of these plays. It's just necessary to understand where exactly this game started out, because I asked Christian Gonzalez actually leading up to the week, how do you really want to play a guy like DK Metcalf? Do you want to get physical with him? Do you want to out-athlete him? And then Gonzo goes, well, he's a pretty great athlete. I'm like, yeah, but you are too. Because my thought was, DK's such a unicorn, and that obviously he's big and he's fast, and you just don't see people built like him in the NFL. He's also one of the strongest, most powerful wide receivers in the NFL, like A.J. Brown, but I put him a tick higher than that. Mm-hmm. So with Gonzalez, as physical as he is, and he likes to play his press, I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea against DK, because there just aren't a lot of people built to handle his physicality other than like Brandon Browner from, the 2024 Super Bowl run. So I say all that as a precursor to what's about to happen, because it was ugly for Gonzo early on. DK Metcalf, known as a bully, like a guy who tries to impose his will, and that's pretty much what happened early on in this game. What in the world just happened there? All right, here we go. So right at the bottom of the screen, DK throws him pretty much. No flag or anything. This is just DK on the backside of the route, letting you know, young blood, this is not going to be fun for you.
This is not your league just yet, Christian Gonzalez. I'm still the man in this situation. Yeah, right. But
tries it out, and DK just shoves him to the ground. Then we get another one where they're outside. This one was kind of tough.
Yeah.
DK is going to fake like he's breaking outside. Christian Gonzalez is playing catch technique, where this time he's like, all right, I'm not going to get mano-a-mano with you. I'm going to try to catch you at the top of your break. What happens is DK throws an outside move. Christian Gonzalez squats on it, realizes DK is breaking back inside, but DK also is going to do a great job using his hands to swat any potential contact, and Gonzo ends up once again on the turf.
On the ground.
This is bizarre. I've never seen this from Gonzalez. Usually his balance is great. He is always in control of reps. So seeing this, I literally FaceTimed you and the guys. I was like, fellas, I don't know what happened. DK was eating Gonzo's lunch a little bit early on.
That one reminded me a little bit, and obviously it's not the same route, it's not the same concept or anything, but last week when we were breaking him down against Jamar Chase, where there was the play where Chase beat him on third down because Gonzo basically had that sort of foot fire thing going on and didn't get on top of Chase in time, where here it's similar, where it's almost like he's not trusting himself and he's getting a little anxious and he's like, where's he going to go? Where's he going to go? Instead of just remaining calm like he ends up doing later in the game and staying with him hip on hip and kind of just going through DK's route and essentially running it for him later on. Here, he really catches him. He's backing up and DK basically sees it, makes the move on him, and then he's toast.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even hate the technique necessarily from Gonzo because I think he does a good job. Like, he clearly knows where the sticks are, right? Because the sticks for him are this line right here. So he wants to force DK to at least get here, and then he's going to break. See? So he gives it a little more room, but then it's just tough at that point because DK is such a big guy. He's got a head of steam. You want to slow him down at least. And I think that's Gonzo's mentality here. It's just he misses because DK's setting him up. And then there's one more play where DK kind of asserts his dominance. This is just going to be a screen. It's not even like Gonzo's covering him, but it's just another example of DK being like, yeah, this is going to be a long day for you if you try to get physical with me. Pushes him at the end of the block. Now, this ended up being offensive pass interference from DK, and Christian Gonzalez also got called for a phantom face mask. He shouldn't have gotten called for this because it's actually under the chin strap, not actually the face mask. I missed that at first watching it live. So both guys get flagged. It's an offsetting penalty, but again, a tone-setting play from Christian Gonzalez saying, yeah, I'm going to lock you up, then push you and finish. Once again,
and then the flags come flying.
Right. So the lesson learned is you don't want DK to get his hands on you. This man's hands are toxic, all right? Christian Gonzalez, though, showing the maturity to be able to switch up his approach. Some corners may say, you know what? No, I'm going to win this eventually, and then pound their head against the wall until they're knocked unconscious, right? But Gonzo said
until they're fighting like Andre Johnson and Cortland Finnegan that time.
Exactly. I'm glad it didn't get there because Gonzo, he'll pay it forward a little bit, but he also kept his head square. But so what Christian Gonzalez did was instead of trying to really catch necessarily DK at the top of his routes, he said, I'm just going to use my crazy hip fluidity and my length to just mirror you. Like, I'm not going to try to touch you. I just want to give myself a chance at the catch point, and I'll close then. And this is an example of why Christian Gonzalez can do that because his hip fluidity is so rare for a guy who's, I think, 6'2", like 200 something pounds. Like, he should not be able to move the way he does. Look at the hip sync. Not a crazy route from decaf, but the ability to be on top of the route and then break like this. If this was thrown, Gonzo could have undercut it or at least been competitive enough to make a play. And again, I understand that DK is not exactly running full speed here, but still, the hip drop in fluidity from Gonzo.
No, that's perfect.
Kind of tool that he's going to use throughout the game to beat Metcalf, or at least keep competitive. So let this run real quick. This is one of Christian Gonzalez's best plays on the day, showing his technique, becoming the receiver, closing space, squeezing to the sideline, and then trying to make a play on the ball himself. Now, go through this one more time. Again, he's not going to try to catch Metcalf. He's just going to run with him, read the hips, see where his eyes are. Eyes looking at Metcalf's hips, reads it's a vertical route. Once he does, and the route's pretty much declared, you're going to see Gonzo. This is when he gets contact, right? So he just wants to put himself in position where he's right there downfield with Metcalf, looking for the ball, jumps up, can't make a play on it in terms of like actually becoming the receiver and catching it, but still, neither one of those guys has a good chance at the ball. Great coverage and patience and poise there from Christian Gonzalez.
You don't have to even go back to it, but the hip fluidity from this guy is something that makes him, and was the reason, essentially, in my opinion, why he was the number 17 overall pick last year. Like, that's obviously, it's rare, but it's also one of like the top, I guess, the top traits you need as a cornerback, because you essentially a lot of times have to run routes with guys, for guys, when not knowing what they do. And to be able to not just, like, guys flip their hips and they'll eat shit sometimes, frankly, because they just don't have that, right? And they'll get juked out of their pants, but it doesn't happen with Gonzo because he's able to just, we talked about it with Chase, and it was a different route, but it was similar to that out route that Chase ran in week 1, where Gonzo just read where he was going, flipped his hips, and it like he ran the route for him. And it's same thing as that other route before with DK. So, I mean, it's rare, and I almost don't like that he tried to be physical with DK when this was just what he had to do all along, and maybe he wouldn't have even got his crap pushed in, for lack of a better term, to start the game, because this is just, again, this play right here, after already, now it was a miscommunication between him and Duggar, but after they had already gotten beaten by DK deep once, this could be a confident shot, like, oh, I don't know if we can do this again, but instead he runs with him the whole way and makes a perfect play on it. It's perfect.
And that's a huge credit to Gonzalez and his mentality. And honestly, I'm cool with him trying to be physical at first. He wanted to see if it would work, and it didn't. And he very quickly adjusted. Like, these are all man coverage snaps also. So it's not like zone. This is really when they were mano-a-mano. All right, now here's an example. So first of all, Christian Gonzalez, when we're not counting the miscommunication with Duggar, because Duggar took responsibility.
Right.
Gonzo has never let up a deep catch in his NFL career, meaning any pass that's gone 20 or more air yards, he is not allowed a completion, which is incredible considering he's shadowing the best receivers every single week. Now here's a play where Christian Gonzalez coming out. One of the big questions was his physicality and his tackling ability. In the pros, he's pretty much quieted those doubts. Obviously, hasn't played a full NFL season yet. But here's an example where DK in space, this can be really tough, right? If you don't have the right technique, you try to tackle him, he can slip it, and then with his speed, pop off for a big game. But here, Gonzo's going to follow him across the formation. Quick throw to the flat. Then he's going to come to balance, Gonzo. So see that? He's going to get his hips under him. He's square. And then is going to corral DK Metcalf. Tries to spin out of it. Gonzo's like, nope, you're not going anywhere. I gotcha. Lets his guys rally to make the tackle. Not going to go too deep into this play, but it's just a good example of Christian Gonzalez. They tried to beat him a different way and said, all right, we can't go downfield on this kid. Right. Maybe we can try to force him to tackle a 230-pound receiver when he's got a 20-pound weight disadvantage. Doesn't work on Gonzo.
And someone too, Taylor, who it's only his 7th NFL game, and it's someone who came in, one of his weaknesses was tackling. So now not only is he tackling, but he's tackling DK freaking Metcalf, who I see in the chat someone mentioning, creative player, 6'4", 235. Guy could either juke him out of his shorts. Guy could just shove him into the turf, which he did earlier in the game. Yeah. But Gonzo, and I like how you mentioned he comes to balance. I don't know if you caught this from Gerard Mayo, but it's not breaking down. Okay, good. I'm glad you said it like that, because in the Mayo Strader, talking about how it was the Joe Cardona play, I think, right? Where we don't break down, because if you break down, you fire your feet, you slow up. Instead, you come to balance and you get into tackling technique, and it's a perfect play. He doesn't allow him to juke him out, and he makes the tackle. All right, so you watch it again, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff with Gonzo, because there was love it. So you mentioned here too, Taylor, New England has to be careful with those zone disguises, because obviously that's how they got burnt for the DK touchdown. And there was the other one too where we talked about it. You sent it over. I think you tweeted it as well, but it was the I think it's this one. Is it this one right here? Where
is this? The drop.
Different play. Okay, but go through it, and what's going on with these zone disguises basically, and why do they need to fix them?
Well, I'll go through this one. This was my last play kind of with Gonzo and Metcalf and that little kind of chess match they had. So this is another one where it's kind of similar to the route that we saw earlier, where it's going to be a route that Gonzalez is going to beat off and try to react to what the route is. Now on this one, DK is just going to run a slant pretty straightforward. And there were a lot of drops in this game from the Seahawks receivers, and it really overshadowed what was didn't overshadow, but Geno Smith had an incredible performance, and a lot of that production was left on the field because his receivers didn't follow through. But still, Gonzalez puts himself in a position where he reads the route as soon as DK declares. You see him breaking, waits for the ball just in case he tries to read it, make a play on it. DK isn't able to make the catch. At the very least, Gonzo would have been able to punch this out if DK did make the catch, But then what I like most, the reason I really put this in, is at the end. Gonzo, some little push off, not a whole lot, but still, like we mentioned, there is that mental game. And part of it is DK wants to physically dominate you and make you feel inferior to his just ungodly skill set. And now you see a little competitiveness like we saw last week from Gonzo too, where he's kind of pushing Jamar Chase around. He's like, a little something at the end, nothing crazy, but I just like to see the attitude from Gonzo. I'm not going to make a huge about it, but a play you like to see. It's a drop, on a good throw. Bottom line is, though, Gonzalez did a really good job adjusting his technique and trying to avoid that contact with DK and instead say, hey, I'm going to try to affect the catch point rather than get into some boxing match or hand fight with DK because he knew he wasn't going to be able to win.
Yep. All right. What do they got to fix?
Yeah. So with these disguise zones, so I went into the numbers. The Patriots are playing the second most cover 2 in the NFL in terms of rate usage behind the Bills. Now, this isn't crazy for the Patriots because they were third last year. Like we mentioned on the show before, they like to play cover 1 and then mix in some cover 2 because it throws off your reads a little bit. And it's a pretty, not easy, but there's ways to disguise it from cover 1 structures. But this season, the Patriots are really playing cover 2 and they're showing a lot of zero looks. So they're showing all out blitz and then shifting to cover 2. But the added element that makes it so difficult is not just that it's showing one thing and doing another. You don't usually know, at least through 2 weeks, where the deep half defenders are going to be. So for the Patriots, like based on what we saw last week, it could be Christian Gonzalez going into a deep half. It could be Kyle Duggar going into this deep half. You basically have no idea because of all the ways they can disguise this. Now, I'm not positive this is a cover 2 shell. It's hard to read with this kind of blitz because they kind of play like birds on a fence a little bit. But we do know that Kyle Duggar was responsible for the laps. So you can see him. I have him highlighted right there. You can see Duggar communicating something to the defense. I think he is. And then when they do this, a lot of the time it is checking them into some kind of all-out blitz look.
Sure.
So I think what Duggar's anticipating is that my guess is he thinks they're maybe going to have like a go to the running back and then some kind of out to DK. Because the way he plays this, he's squatting like he thinks that something's coming underneath, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if DK were running it out, he'd be able to jump it. Or if maybe Gino was going to throw something like, a little curl here and maybe it's a seam, but he thinks that Gonzo's carrying the seam, then Duggar's ready to potentially bounce on this if it's there. But what happens instead is DK runs up the seam and no one carries him at all. And if Duggar's taking responsibility, the likely outcome was supposed to be that he was going to cover deep and then Gonzo was supposed to maybe hit the flat and take that shallow route from the running back.
So now here's a question for you, and this is a genuine question as we talk it out. This isn't like a rhetorical thing. So I was listening to Andrew Callahan earlier today about how this is something where they bring that guy in motion, and so he actually ends up chipping that D end so that they have all their guys accounted for while they still get the rush off. Could Duggar also be anticipating that guy coming in motion and running a flat route as well, or is he strictly reading DK? Could that have thrown him off as well to think, oh, they have someone coming. We don't have enough guys out here. They have our leverage. We need to sit on this guy coming in motion. And then he ends up being a part of the protection, and it's not a factor at all.
That's totally possible because, before this guy actually settles down, you've already seen that Duggar's starting to creep down. Right. So it's possible maybe that he thought it was some type of screen. The Seahawks did run a few screens from similar looks in this game. So that's entirely possible as well. But the bottom line here is that it's a blown coverage. And it's the worst case scenario where not only do you miss the assignment, but there's no one to save you. And you let the fastest player on the field walk into the end zone untouched. And that wasn't the only time this happened either, because that time it was not on Gonzo. This time it was. So this is actually going to be a cover 2 disguise, whereas you're going to see Duggar is going to take this deep half. Then it looks like they're going to invert it where Christian Gonzalez is responsible for the half to this side with, I think it's Marcus Jones playing the flat. Then you're going to get a deep hook right here. Then you're going to get zone, and this defender playing the flat. And you're going to get another vertical route from DK Metcalf, but Gonzo is squatting. The pressure is going to save it, though, because Dietrich Wise is going to get his hand there, force Geno Smith to step up in the pocket, and the throw doesn't get as much mustard as he wants on it. But as you can see, DK Metcalf is wide open.
Wide open.
Work for that pressure, which ends up leading to Jabril Peppers having a chance at getting a hand on the football. That's a touchdown, easily. And it would have been their second touchdown on a blown coverage of the day. So these are the things you just can't have in these disguise coverages. And the reason I really highlight this week they're playing Aaron Rodgers. You are not going to show Aaron Rodgers anything that he has not seen in some form or fashion at the NFL level. What I want to see from the Patriots is this week, I need to see them go back to their roots, what they did more with Bill Belichick. And yes, I want them to disguise, but more than anything, I want them to be structurally sound. If that means, hey, we're going to play more man coverage and just do what, like, show you exactly what it is, that's fine. The last time they played Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, there was a whole lot of man coverage and there wasn't a whole lot of trickery because they knew that, if we sacrifice and have somebody from the slot bailing into a deep half, but he's not fast enough, Aaron Rodgers is just going to put air on the ball. And while you're trying to track it while looking at it, our guy's already got a boost and he's going to be able to make that grab. So this week, I need to see more straightforward coverages, back to fundamentals, and just play the ball and be able to rely on your guys to win one-on-one matchups. Because as much as I think this, whole switch to more zone coverages can work, because by reading the ball, you can make more plays on the ball and get those interceptions and turnovers. Aaron Rodgers isn't that kind of guy. You're not going to get a whole lot of turnovers that he causes. So I think the priority needs to be affecting the catch point and making sure his guys can't bring the ball in.
Absolutely. All right, let's keep it on the defensive side of the ball here for our next breakdown, Taylor. We're talking about Keion White, someone who you mentioned as a potential defensive player of the year candidate in your notes to me about Keion. Last week had 7 tackles. He has a sack and a half. We talked on our thing last week about White getting some national attention. Baldy breakdown on Twitter, but then he's Bill Belichick's football guy of the week as well on Inside the NFL last week.
And Chris Long's, right? Didn't he get 2 votes?
Yes. Yeah. So Chris Long, the way they do it on the show, not to get too into the weeds about it, but each guy brings a football guy and then Belichick votes on it. So Chris Long nominated him.
Oh, okay.
And Belichick chose him out of the 3. So yeah, Keion White balling out, like I said, 7 tackles this week, a sack and a half again. He's all over the place, Taylor. How did he do it this week? How is he bringing stuff inside and outside, resembling not only Christian Barmore in the middle, but like we mentioned, right now, he literally is playing so well. He's like Barmore on the outside, or on the inside, and he's like Judon on the outside. He's making it happen all over the map. Show us how. Let's break it down.
Yep. So Keion White's ability to disrupt the interior has been obviously huge because without Christian Barmore, they don't really have the juice, right? The only guys on this team with really respectable pass rush win rates are primarily edge defenders. Now, Keion is the only one in that group who isn't mainly on the edge, but you look at Dietrich Wise and Joshua Uche, the other 2 guys who've been giving them some pass rush, their wins have most have been on the edge. Now, Daniel Ekuale is very technically sound, but he's not the most explosive pass rusher. And I think you're seeing now more, he really is more of a complimentary guy than he was even 2 years ago, where I feel like he did have a bit more juice, but, season-ending injury, stuff like that is going to happen. Sure. So this was my favorite rep from the day, where last year you would see sometimes Christian Barmore get lined up one-on-one on a center, and it just was not fair because he's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, and it was a total mismatch. It's similar with Keion White. He's not quite as freakishly large as Christian Barmore, but he's a matchup problem in his own right. Here you're going to see Connor Williams, a veteran center, one-on-one. For some reason, they decide to slide. Oh, my gosh, what the world happened? For some reason, they are going to slide the protection away from Keion White, and they're actually not going to, because as you're going to see, right guard's actually going to go to Dietrich Wise. Keion White's going to say, bet. Yep. You're not going to stand much of a chance. Closes in for the sack. Now, to break this down real quick, Connor Williams gets the ball off, right? White is basically just waiting to see what direction he's going to go in. Once he sees that soft shoulder on the inside, he says, thank you very much. Going to throw a club, take out that hand that was protecting you from getting beat to your inside. Closes up. He wants to finish with a rip, but he really doesn't even need to because Connor Williams doesn't really have the arm to spare. Gets into the backfield. Yeah,
he cocks his arm back. He's like, oh, wait, I don't even need to do this. I can just run straight right at the quarterback. Yeah.
Nope, doesn't need to do it. And this is awesome. This is the kind of thing you want to see from Keion White. Put him on the guy that you think is the biggest liability on the offensive line and let him go to work. But for most of the game, the guy who they saw as the biggest liability seemed to be left guard Laken Tomlinson, an older guard, a veteran, but, athletically not where he used to be. And Keion White took full advantage of that, mostly beating him with inside moves. And the thing that makes Keion White very valuable on this specific rep is, do you notice anything about the way this front looks and who's in the personnel grouping?
Oh, man. Okay. Tavai, Jennings. Oh, well, Kyle Duggar's a linebacker first and foremost.
But,
And
but like on the defensive line, how many pass rushers do you see?
oh yeah, they're sending 5.
5, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of guys here who you would think of as pass rush specialists, right? Or guys you really expect.
Oh, okay, yeah, because you have Tavai and Jennings off the edge, sure.
Right. You got Jelani Tavai, who's more often than not going to be dropping in these situations. Anthony Jennings, who's primarily a run stopper. Devon Gottschall, who's a space-eating run stopper. He can push the pocket, but he's really not going to be registering many pressures. And Daniel Equale, who, as we mentioned, can give you a little something, but he's really not the pass rusher that you want. Now, last year, Christian Barmore was that guy in these groupings. And Matt Judon has been that in other years, where if you're going to want to stop the run, you need, especially in this kind of alignment, where this usually is Dietrich Wise, where it's more that defensive end type more than a real defensive tackle or nose tackle type. They give you just enough juice so you can have some type of pass rush when you're trying to stop the run. So here, the Seahawks are going to go play action, and Keon White is going to win so fast that the play doesn't even have time to develop. So we're going to see immediately, first of all, Geno Smith fakes away from the back. So Keon is not fooled. He knows that this is clearly not going to be a run with these two going in different directions. He gets into attack mode, stays at it after getting under Laken Tomlinson's pads with a rip move. And what I love about Keon also when he goes for the quarterback, he's not going for sacks. He's going for strip sacks. And you see that right here. If Geno doesn't have two hands on this football, Keon White is probably taking this out.
Yep.
So, doesn't quite get the strip, but as soon as Geno gets to the top of his drop, he has to worry about Keon White. And then we also get great efforts here from Daniel Equale and Jabril Peppers on the opposite edge right here, working through multiple blocks to help out and close this, converge on the quarterback.
So I'm watching. So now this is a niche thing, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with White's technique here. But the how they mess up the play action, that looks more like Charbonnet seeing, oh, we don't have enough guys. Jabril Peppers is also coming off the edge. Let's just fire call that. We're not doing play action anymore. I'm staying into block. What do you think? Do you think it's a mistake, or do you think that's him saying, no, we need some more protection here?
It's a good question because I think a lot of the time, if you're going to have a tight end in the block, a lot of these teams will have it kind of be a double. But because this is defense, I would think they would trust Noah Fant to do this on his own.
I think so too, yeah.
Because he's actually in the protect. It doesn't look like he's chipping. Like, this is max protection. They only sent 2 guys out in the routes, and these guys are all going to help out still in protection. So
right.
I'm not really sure if Charbonnet...
Because it doesn't even look like Charbonnet was... Maybe he is wrong, but it doesn't... I guess he took a stutter as if he was going to go for the fake, so maybe that's just a miscommunication on them too.
Yeah, and
interesting.
The way
but
that
regardless,
the fake turns out is it looks like they're trying to fake more of an inside zone type protection.
Yeah,
but honestly, it's hard to tell. I don't want to kind of get in their head. I don't know what their playbook looks like. But bottom line, the fact that
regardless, I was just curious.
On a play action drop back from a run stopping grouping says a lot about the value that he brings to this defense.
Yep, he's a force. He's been their best player, I would say, through 2 weeks.
Yep. All right, now we're going to get another play where you're going to get Keon White on an island against Laken Tomlinson, showing that lateral agility to win inside again. This time, he's going to use more of a stutter to set up Laken Tomlinson, who overcommits just a bit to the outside. Keon White takes advantage with the double swipe move, finishes with the rip like we mentioned he tried to do earlier but didn't need to. Gets under Laken's pads to win, gets around the corner, and very nearly... Does he get a hand on this? He doesn't, but just enough to affect the throw, and obviously it's dropped.
Right there.
Probably wouldn't have gone very far because Jalen Hawkins was right there in coverage, but that's a key stop on third down and another clean win. For some reason, they didn't slide towards Keon White. I don't understand what the idea was behind that, but as you can see, he made them pay.
When are teams going to realize that you can't just block Keon White one-on-one?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's got to be next week, but...
And I do have to say that Connor Williams is sliding towards Jelani Tavai. Like, you can see he's looking at him. So I think he's just trying to make sure that isn't going to be a factor in the play. But the running back also reads Tavai, it looks like. Maybe he's prioritizing a corner blitz. I'm not totally sure. But either way, if you're going to create these mismatches with Keon White, he's going to be able to take advantage more often than not. Now, there were some times where he got his lunch money handed to him as well. Like there was a rep against the right guard where he got taken to the ground after an inside move didn't work. That's the chess match, though. You know, you're trying to call your shot. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you're going to get another rep here against Laken Tomlinson one-on-one. But this one, the Patriots are actually going to use the 6-man front to create the one-on-one matchup. So this is specifically scheme-based. So you're going to have the tackle out to Josh Uche. You're going to see a slide this way. Excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. So let me see this. So you're actually going to get the back on Kyle Duggar. So then you're going to get a one-on-one matchup right here and here. Actually, let me just run this out because I'm honestly, I have three straight of Laken Tomlinson. I'm getting them mixed up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it works out.
Go for it. Yep.
But the 6-man front is essentially to create these one-on-one matchups where, okay, you're going to get the slender slide to Quale. This is going to go here. You're going to get the guard accounting for Jelani Tavai, the back accounting for Kyle Duggar, and the tackle accounting for Joshua Uche. One more time with the inside win. And I also love the awareness to dip and get between that gap as well to kind of also get the running back. Remember last week when we saw a similar rush and the running back was able to chip him just a little bit?
Yep.
Here, dips his pads a little bit, basically teleports into the backfield.
Lowers his shoulders right in Geno Smith's face.
Exactly. Geno Smith was freaking stones all day, and it didn't matter. He still gets the ball out of his hand. Great performance from the quarterback, but another win there from Keon White inside.
All right, so that's inside, Taylor. What do you got for him on the outside? Because like we said, he's great on the inside, but he's also been dominant on the edge as well.
Yep. Actually, one more clip I'm going to show from him on the inside, but this is his versatility. So obviously he can win one-on-one, but we can also do is with that effectiveness inside, set up some twists. So here he's the pick man, right? So you're going to get him slanting inside and you're trying to get an opening for Joshua Uche.
Yep.
But because he demands so much attention, the guard is going to look his way. That gets Joshua Uche almost unblocked. The guard does it just enough to save a complete free hit.
Yeah.
But Keon White not only is the penetrator, he's actually going to get into the right tackle's pads, shove him off, and get to the quarterback himself. So not only can he be the guy to free up other people, he can actually make an impact even when he's being used basically as a distraction. And
Sorry, I'm just watching again. Yeah.
No, you're good.
And that's where it comes.
Love to see more of that from these two because obviously as the best pass rushers, you can put some offensive lines into real binds when they're not really sure if you're just straight up rushing them with speed or if they need to account for this kind of line game.
Bingo. That's one part of it. The other part too is where I just said, well, when our team's going to realize you guys for Keon, sometimes you just don't have the guys. And when you do, and you do this to them, then Josh Uche is free to go. And then you have two guys on White, you get mixed up because you're so keyed in on him that he ends up just being the pick man for Josh Uche, who's sneaky having a good year as well off the edge to come in and do something like that. So yeah, he's just a weapon, man. I can't get over it.
And a great setup here for Keon White. So as we mentioned, he's trying to work on his outside rushing because he knows he's primarily a guy who's going to win inside, but you can see the development slowly creeping as the season goes on. Here he is against the Seahawks backup right tackle. Winning with just a little rip around the edge. He doesn't get to the quarterback, but you can see, all right, the tackle wants to make contact. He's going to dip underneath the tackle's punch and then show good balance to get around the edge. Almost gets to Geno Smith. Can't quite bend enough to affect the quarterback there. But you're at least seeing that he can win in multiple ways, inside and outside. This really straightforward speed rush, but still an effective one. And then he almost meets Joshua Uche from the other edge at the quarterback.
Almost a Geno Smith sandwich right there.
Yep. Very, very close to a Geno Smith sandwich. Well, Seahawks Sammy. But still, they both do get hands on the quarterback. And those are those plays where, it's only going to be a hurry, not a hit on the stat sheet, but the quarterback's not going to forget that. But, hopefully when the other quarterbacks, that'll make more of a difference. With Geno Smith, it did not make much of a difference because he is a pro's pro.
Yeah, I mean, you're still hurrying the pocket up. You're still making his internal clock speed up. And so even if you don't touch him, and obviously he has to get the ball off quick here. The next play, you're like, oh, where's the rush coming? Is the rush coming? Blah, 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 blah. So even if you don't make a play on a play, you don't make an impact on a play like this, getting that close to him and making him get the ball out that fast is going to ruin a lot of guys for the rest of the game. Now, you mentioned Geno Smith balled out yesterday or on Sunday and kind of had the cojones to just sit in there and get it done. But long story short, that's what they're doing there as well.
Oh yeah, brother. And then I see Lowe said he wishes the edge was getting a bit more pressure. I get it, but also when you're losing a guy like Barmore, it's just tough, man.
Yeah.
Like they do prioritize run stoppers, and for the way they play defense, I think that's smart. I don't think you want to start like bringing in a bunch of pure penetrators because then it can be a bad scheme fit, and then it kind of affects the way other people have to play. But when they want that interior push, that's when you're going to see Keon White inside. But when they don't, you're hoping that maybe like a Dietrich Wise or something can kick in those situations. But here, it's another impressive rep from Keon White. This one against Charles Cross, a really good young offensive tackle on the left side. You're actually going to see here from Keon White a little bit of a slap and rip around the edge here. So Charles Cross, very patient with his hands. So Keon White says, I'm going to be the aggressor. Once Charles Cross does try to shoot his hand, Keon's going to slap it down, do a great job using his the inside hand to take away that backup punch from Charles Cross, that second hand, swipe it away, win the edge, bend around. Again, doesn't quite get there, but one of those wins where you at least have to respect the threat of Keon White winning around the edge. Again, makes contact with the quarterback, one of those that gets in the passer's head, ideally as the game goes on.
Yep. All right, I'm looking at your show notes here, Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a Keon White spin move in the burner? All right, let's see it.
So, like I mentioned last time, where Keon White set up that speed move earlier, where he just went right around the edge. Here, he's actually going to try to use that to set up an inside move. Now, it's not the cleanest, and the Seahawks end up picking it up well, but it's at least cool to see that he's trying new things, trying to add things to his toolbox for a second-year player who's already showing a ton of promise. So, all right, again, you're going to try to threaten with speed. He's going to see the tackle start to open. What he's going to do is, so what you want to do here is he's going to try to throw that chop. You want to knock down the offensive tackle's hands. Then when he comes back around, so he does an okay job of that. I'm not sure how effectively he does it. It's tough to tell from this angle. But as he spins, you'd like to see with that arm that he's bringing through, you chop the inside hand for the offensive tackle. Because once that goes down, that's when you have the free lane to the quarterback. Doesn't quite get there. Instead, it's more like he shoves him like this instead of it being really a takedown. And then the running back does a good job showing awareness and stalling him inside, gets him to the ground there. That's a big hit. Really good pickup from the running back. But it's still cool to see, he's trying something else where he can set up a move one way and then do something else and win from different spots.
Yep. All right, let's wrap up, Keon. What else you got for us here? Some freak athleticism I see in the show notes, and then also something you can improve on.
Yeah, sure. So this is going to be the last one of the really big Keon White highlights. The Patriots used this very interesting package where they actually dropped Keon White and Joshua Uche into cover 2 zones and ended up sending different types of pressure where I think the first time it was a creeper. Creeper basically means, or this is actually a simulated pressure where they're showing heat. They're only actually going to send 4, but 2 of them are going to be defensive backs. They also showed a look where they actually blitzed and sent 5, but still Uche and Keon White were dropping. Keon White said they just wanted to show the Seahawks some different looks, similar to what the Seahawks do with guys like Boye Mafe, where you'll see him rush off the edge a lot, but he also can line up an inside linebacker and drop way downfield. And for Keon White, a guy who's a tweener, plays inside the tackles, outside the tackles, does so much in the front, to be able to do this is downright ridiculous. Like, he's able to get to his spot, and really, he's in good position as that Tampa defender who's supposed to carry the deepest route inside. Now, this is a great play from Geno Smith because the Patriots do end up blitzing right here, Jabril Peppers. He actually is going to be unblocked, but Geno, kind of like you see with Drake May sometimes, going to barely fade away to get himself some more time against the rush and then fire this between 2 defenders to get the completion. Like, this is a great throw from Geno.
Yeah.
It's one where you could say, oh, why are you dropping your defensive lineman into coverage? Look at how deep Uche and White are still able to get. Like, this isn't bad coverage, but you're still reading the quarterback, and this is just a really tight window for him to hit. And Geno Smith, dude was money all day, especially late in the game, is able to complete that on 3rd down for a huge conversion for the Seahawks. So not a highlight or anything for the Patriots, but I just wanted to show off Keon White because this is a ridiculous amount of athleticism and something he showed in college where he would carry wheel routes all the way downfield to cover running backs. So I just wanted to give him some love for the versatility. This was
just get a handout next time. Knock it down. I know it's a nice throw from Geno, and the way he can get there and everything is obviously worth showing. But you got 2 guys there. You trust them enough to to drop there. At least someone get a hand on it. But again, it's a great throw.
Yeah. Like what? So when does Smith let this go? Like he lets it go right here.
Yeah, I know.
Well, obviously, if you get a guy who's more used to coverage, maybe he makes a play on this better. But I'm still an impressive rep from Keon White all the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And he makes the tackle.
All right, we'll give it to him.
All right. Now, actually, no. This is just the other angle. That's it. I'm just going to show it real quick so you can see it from Keno's perspective. Like, bro, that man is 285 pounds. Can we be for real? That's stupid. That's against Jackson Smith and the
It's JSN, yeah.
Jeez.
Honestly, from this angle too, that's just a great throw from Geno Smith. He sees the way that Keon White's turned. He knows Smith and Jigba's going to cross his face. Keon doesn't necessarily know that. He throws it right behind his ear hole for a great throw. That's just good quarterback play.
And Keon White doesn't do anything wrong. He's supposed to carry this guy up the field. He hits his landmark, gets his eye on the quarterback. But look what Geno lets us go. His momentum's working against him because he was carrying out his assignment. So, yeah, again, just a freak rep there from Keon White.
Yeah, no, that's just some good quarterback play. Like I said too, you can't really blame him there. But overall, again, Keon White. Are we done? Do you have one more, Keon?
This is just the last one. So this is something that Dan Orlovsky actually pointed out. This was a late addition to the script. So Dan Orlovsky pointed out that Geno Smith had a rep late in the game where he had to sprint out to the right, then came all the way back to the left, which is something you don't really see. Usually on a sprint out, if you don't like the look, you're just going to throw it away. What he did instead was he came back around, which gave Tyler Lockett time to uncover against Jonathan Jones in overtime, and they completed the throw, and it was a big chunk they needed to really get into New England territory. A big reason that happened was because the first time they ran the play, the Patriots showed them the same nickel defense, 4-down look with Keon White as an edge defender to the boundary. As you can see, he's right here. Now, watch what he does. He's going to drop into coverage thinking, all right, maybe he's thinking, all right, they might try to throw something back. I just want to make sure I have depth on this route. Because, again, with sprint outs, you don't really see quarterbacks come back the other way. It really just doesn't happen.
Right.
This time, the Patriots send a blitz from the slot. So Marcus Jones is blitzing into the sprint out. The running back picks it up. Juwan Bentley looks like blitzes as well. Jabril Peppers tries to get down to cover this quick out, can't get there in time, and it's a conversion.
Mm-hmm.
So what we see later in the game, same look, right? Patriots are in their nickel defense, 4-down front, Keon White on the edge. Once again, we're going to get that flip from the back. They're going to sprint out to the right, Keon White right here. All right, I'm going to make sure that I'm just able to make a play on this if anything comes backside. It does go backside, but he has too much depth and isn't able to affect the quarterback. And again, this is a great play from the Seahawks. This isn't really a critique very much of Keon White. Maybe the coaching point is you don't want to get quite as much depth because you still want to be able to come down on that. But because it's such a rare play, I just wanted to point out a really cool aspect from Geno Smith's game to be able to allow Tyler Lockett. As you can see, and they may have talked about this on the sideline because Tyler Lockett doesn't really hesitate very much. He's running, sees his quarterback needs help, and is like, I'm reversing field. So I think they may have said, you know what, we're going to go back to this because we have a soft edge. This is a smart defense. Let's do something they're not expecting. But yeah, once again, interesting play. I would love to know, maybe we can ask Keon if there was a coaching point for something he should have done differently at this, but a really cool play from the Seahawks being able to capitalize and really give them a play that put them in field goal range and ultimately decided the game.
Yep. All right. Well, that's Keon White. Now, unfortunately, Taylor, what we have to do now is flip over to the offensive side of the football, and we're going to start with what happened in this passing game. Before we do, though, let's listen in quickly to a word from our friends over at Game Time, Taylor, because right now on Game Time, it is Tuesday, and you can get into Patriots versus Jets on Thursday at MetLife Stadium for as little as $71. So me and Taylor are going to be there. Me and Taylor do get to go in for free because we are reporting on the team. But if you guys want to come check it out and watch the game, you can get in on it at Game Time for, like I said, as little as $71. Game Time, obviously, it's an easy app to use. They have Game Time picks. They filter out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on seats that you can get. And you don't have to waste the time searching through the thousands of tickets on the app. Game Time picks makes it super easy. You can look at your seat view. So if you've never been to MetLife Stadium, but you want to come to the game, but you don't know what your seat view is going to look like, you can do that right in the Game Time app. So do that now. They have super deals, awesome deals, amazing deals. They make it super symbol to get the best tickets and the lowest price guaranteed. And it doesn't even need to be for sporting events either. On Game Time, you can go to concerts, theater shows, all that good stuff right now on Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Game Time. Download it today. What time is it? Game time. Game time. All right, that's game time. Now let's get back to the Patriots and, like we said, what's going on with this passing attack. Because for the second week in a row, Taylor, Patriots offense, only 15 completions, only has less than 100. This time it was 149. So for 2 weeks straight, 15 completions, less than 150 yards passing. And on Sunday, they only had one completion that went for 10 yards, or more. A lot of missed opportunities. As we know now, it's became a little bit of a storyline here. Pop Douglas, 1 target, no catches, 3 targets over the first 2 games. Someone who's arguably their best offensive player. They're not getting him the football. And finally, the offensive line, the pressure. It's killing the drives. It's speeding up Jacoby sometimes. It's getting to him. He's obviously running for his life out there, even though he's making plays on it. But overall, let's take a look at exactly what's going on with this passing game, what's going on wrong, and also how they can potentially improve it moving forward.
Yeah, so it was a little bit of everything with the Patriots passing game and why it struggled. Like, we're asking, where was Demario Douglas? Why wasn't he more involved? Now, I will just say off the bat, there's no excuse for him having 0 touches. He had 1 target that didn't count, and we'll get into what that target actually was. But for a player like him, and Alex Van Pelt is coming from a Cleveland offense that did so many things where they were pretty good at scheming touches for their players. He has to get the ball, whether it's on quick throws, whether it's the first read, whatever it is. There's no excuse for him not having been involved in the passing attack, point blank, period. Now, at the same time, there were some moments where there were opportunities to maybe hit him, but they were thwarted because of pressure. And that's the thing where it's not one thing. It's not, just the protection. It's not just receivers, if they're getting open or not. The Patriots need more time. Jacoby Brissett, will have opportunities to make plays that he hasn't made, and that's kind of where we're starting off here. And bottom line, once again, Demario Douglas needs to be getting the ball more.
Yep.
So we're going to start off with this was the first 3rd down of the game. It's 3rd and 2, all right? So Hunter Henry is going to shift inside right here. Basically, the way that this plays out is essentially a zone coverage, but they're kind of matching it as well, because you're going to get a stack to the top and to the bottom. Now, I'm just going to let this play out first so people actually know what's going on. So the play ends in a sack because Michael Jordan ends up chipping Boye Mafi while Vidarian Lowe's trying to block him, which ends up kind of screwing Vidarian Lowe and forcing Jacoby out of the pocket. But my issue is I thought that Jacoby actually had 2 options open. So from here, we're going to get Austin Hooper pretty much really just running interference. He's going to run a corner, but he's trying to set a pick. Now, Hunter Henry is going to trail behind him to create confusion before breaking inside. That's where the primary read for this play is. But then on the backside, you're going to get a crossing route underneath with Jalen Polk running a dig on what's basically a high-low, right? So I thought initially, and we're going to let this run through once more, when Jacoby gets to the top of his drop, there's space right here. You can throw with some anticipation. Even if you just want to wait for a Hunter to look at you, there's room here, right?
Yeah.
Even if you want to put this low, if you want to throw it early so this defender can't get in this window to like hurt Hunter Henry, there's a throw to be made here. Even if you say, I don't like the window, okay, fine, Jacoby. Now you're looking down the middle towards Jalen Polk, who has all this space to work with because this concept underneath where you had the high-low sucked up the underneath defender, and the running back is leaking out of the backfield as well.
Yeah, he's got time there too, man. Sit, take a hit if you have to on the back and throw.
And even if he has to fade, you can make this throw on the run if you have to. I would hope. I know that Jacoby has struggled to throw on the run, but even this is a little – oh, wow. Breaking news, Jalen Reagor was released from the practice squad after basically tweeting that he was a Ferrari being left in the garage.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah. You tweet something about that, and I'll keep talking to the people. But I mean, seems like Jalen Reagor wanted more of an opportunity, and I guess he'll get it now. Was obviously a primary returner in the summer and was their backup X receiver, but Looks like Javon Baker may have that role now after he was active last week, and Jalen Reagor, 2 weeks in a row, he's not activated. So maybe he just wasn't happy with his role, and they said, all right, find a role somewhere else.
I really do wonder how much that has to do with the thing he tweeted or put on Instagram, or if it's just simply like roster manipulation or like roster moves. Like, on one hand, it'd be a little harsh to cut him after just posting an Instagram story and deleting, but at the same time, like, hey, look, we don't do that shit here. That could be a thing too. Like, I wonder how much that has to do with it. Yeah, right, exactly. But man, that's fascinating.
Yeah. But all right. So anyway, getting back to a bottom line, this is absolutely a play that Jacoby's got to make. Now, this is the first third down of the game. Maybe he had jitters, but this is an ugly missed opportunity when you could have kept your first drive going. Instead, I believe it was a 3-and-out.
Yeah.
And I'll look at it.
No, I just wanted to play this one more time from the other angle for a second, only because
from the end zone angle.
Yeah, from the full. Nope, not this one. The other one. Sorry.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. It's just I had one easy point, but situational football, 3rd and 2, 2 yards to gain. You know that your primary read is a pick route. You know that Hooper's going to try, even if he doesn't get as much interference like you mentioned on that guy as possible. You throw the ball now. Henry, if you work on this in practice, knows that ball is coming now, especially if that guy's on his hip. He's going to be ready for it when he turns. Catch, drop to the ground, first down, move the chains. And then you come back.
Even if you twice last week.
Right. And even if you don't like it and you watch Jacoby's eyes, when he comes off of that, he goes right to the middle of the field. And Jalen Polk is open across the middle. Look, there's a lot to blame on. People can say the receivers don't have the talent in the receiver room, they don't have the offensive line protection, but that's a play that Jacoby's got to make. That to me seems like a pretty much of a layup. So
100%. And then we'll just look really quickly from the end zone angle because, like I said, Michael Jordan has been very good, but this was one that he probably want back. And I don't want to, dump on the guy because really he's been more good than he has bad. And the bad, you can understand he's trying to get better in this system. But these chips are so... It's a very delicate balance because if you hit guys too hard, you end up hurting your guy. And that's what happens here where Vidarian's in pretty solid shape, but then boom, then that extra momentum boost. It's like, all right. I can't block this guy anymore. And then Jacoby Brissett ends up getting chased down. So not a great play for Michael Jordan, but still you got to get that ball out a lot faster. So that could look like the coverage has to be better. No, Jacoby's got to get the ball out of his hands when he has 2 open receivers.
100%.
All right. And now this one. So the Patriots have been using a lot of 12 personnel in the red zone. And I don't really mind it because when we were watching this offense in training camp, Jacoby Brissett was more than happy to give his tight ends 50-50 ball opportunities in these situations. And if he doesn't like throwing to Pop Douglas, we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. You want to throw to your big guys? Okay, I get it. You're in the red zone, just throw it up. What I don't love is that Jacoby hasn't been exploiting those matchups. And here, in fact, you're going to get Boye Mafe, an edge rusher who can drop into coverage, but still, any guy who's rushing the passer is a mismatch if he's in coverage against a tight end, who right here is Austin Hooper. You're also going to get Hunter Henry against a safety. And just to draw, I'll let this run first. But just so you understand, these are the 2 big mismatches, all right? Hunter Henry against a smaller safety and Austin Hooper against an edge rusher who can also drop into coverage.
Sure.
So Jacoby gets to the top of his drop, right? So about here, now he starts to get happy feet. But you can see that Hooper has the advantage in this matchup. Like, if you want to put this to the pylon, that's a very makeable throw. Also, Hunter Henry's a big body. You can put this on him right here and give him a chance to make a play at the very least.
Box out.
What happens instead? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that's like a rebound. Give it to Henry right now. He boxes him out, scores a touchdown.
Exactly. Like, I don't really know what's going on at the bottom here. Like, so what the concept looks like is you get the corner from Austin Hooper. You're going to get this little like crosser type bend in from Hunter Henry. I think this is a vertical route, but Polk kind of breaks it down. So I'm not totally sure what this is supposed to be. And then you're going to have a little bit of a short route from Tyquan Thornton right here. He actually wins off the line, but I don't know what this route was supposed to be because he doesn't really run it full speed either. But either way, off the play fake also, so you're going to get a little bit of run action with David Andrews pulling like it's some kind of run, and you're going to see the handoff action here.
Mm-hmm.
So Jacoby gets the top of his drop, but the end zone angle will get a better shot of this. But you see he gets happy feet, right? He's real bouncy here.
Yeah.
And you can kind of understand because the protection wasn't great in the game, but this was relatively early on before the pressure got really bad. You can absolutely just decide, all right, my plan is I'm going to hang in and just give Austin Hooper a chance right here.
My
right?
guy or no guy, back pylon. Yep.
Right. And last week, I also understand he throws off his back foot under pressure to Hunter Henry when he is matched up against a smaller defensive back. The ball hangs and it almost gets intercepted. I get in the back of his head if he's like, I'm not going to put the ball in harm's way. But you need to take some of these risks. Like Drake May is taking this. He's like, oh, yeah, no, I like these matchups. I'm going to give my big guys a chance. You can hit both of these receivers in these situations. Instead, he's going to kind of drift, then just end up having to throw it away. Missed opportunity. I believe this was a drive where they ended up kicking a field goal.
Yep.
And then actually, let's go to the end zone angle for a better idea of what the pocket looked like. So get the run fake. Now, Boye Mafe completely blows up this pass protection. Like, this is not an easy situation for Brissett to work with. But Ramondre Stevenson shows great awareness and David Andrews to be like, all right, we're going to seal him off. Maybe just give our quarterback time to reset. It's not really even a reset, though. Like, you can throw this on the run, maybe. Like, give your guy a chance in the back of the end zone where it's like, hey, either he catches it or it's going to go out of bounds. Instead, it's just a full drift and a throwaway. And I understand, I hate being nitpicky because when things go wrong in a football game, it can be so easy to say, oh, this guy could have done this guy could have done that. And if the play had gone well or if you won the game, you're not really as nitpicky about it because you're like, all right, last week we said that where Jacoby Brissett, sometimes he's just trying to make the smart play. But these are ones where it's like, come on, man,
From this angle, I'm going to be honest. From this angle, I don't love the throw to Henry over the middle.
Okay.
Just kind of feels like he's on him. Julian Love's over the top too. Maybe you give him a chance. Maybe you throw it outside shoulder, or not outside shoulder, but kind of lead him in coverage a little bit. But he looks pretty covered right there to me, especially with what's coming up the middle. You have to reset by the time you reset. But at this point too, we mentioned the throwing off platform. You can set your feet enough here to give Austin Hooper a chance, and he doesn't. I like the first read. I don't love Henry, but I agree with the overarching point where you can throw that ball to the back corner on Boye Mafe and make something happen.
Right. And the big picture thing from this is if you're going to use 12 personnel in these passing situations, use the big bodies. That's really what it is. And I can understand if you don't like Hunter Henry, sure, but you have Austin Hooper, and he hasn't really given them opportunities at all. And this play really just kind of extrapolates that. So that's just something I'd like to see him take more advantage of, be more aggressive. You don't have to take unnecessary risks, and I get that. Mm-hmm. But when you get these mismatches, I'd like to see you at least try to do something with them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, one more missed opportunity, and then we're going to get into where the heck is Pop Douglas.
Yeah, and this is kind of going to overlap. So this is going to slightly transition into where Pop can get more involved, but also why the margin for error is so slim. So I actually asked Jacoby Brissett about this play, and I'll run it through real quick because I'm thinking, well, why didn't he go to Pop Douglas first? Instead, he tries to go to KJ Osborne. Now, Jacoby said that it had more to do with pressure and that if he could have done things over again, he probably would have thrown to Pop. All right, so there's some progress. It's like, all right, Jacoby looks good when he gets the ball out at the top of his drop and it's clean. Maybe next time he does that. So what we're going to see here is you're going to get an out route from Pop to the sticks. You're going to get a corner route here from KJ Osborne. Hunter Henry's pretty much going to run a sit route. Then I think this is basically I think Taekwon's trying to sell an over route and then break it outside, but you're also going to get from Ramondre Stevenson a rail. So he's going to start off flat and then start to curve this up the field. So really, Jacoby Brissett is going to want KJ Osborne on this corner route because of the way these routes distribute. So as you're going to see, once Hunter Henry, comes in motion here, you can see they're going to relay some kind of match principle, right? So I believe the way they're going to end up matching this is you're going to get this defender on Pop and then a one-on-one to this corner route. Jacoby understandably wants the corner because, oh, look, I've got a one-on-one right here. My receiver got off the jam. And KJ on these corners does a great job of selling upfield before, as you can see right here, using that arm and using your momentum against you to create separation. At the same time, you see Demario Douglas right here, so good at running these out routes, be able to get separation. Now, to make this throw, you have to throw it right now. Or like Jacoby needed to already be getting ready because it's to the far hash. It's an out-breaking route. This needs to be to the sideline to give the defender no chance to intercept it. Maybe he makes a play on it if it's, a great read. But if Jacoby throws this with anticipation, he can hit Pop right, as you can see, at the sticks. But he wants KJ Osborne. You understand why. But here's what happens when he gets to the top of his drop. He wants to throw this and wait for KJ Osborne to get open, but looky here, Mike Nwenu's beat, and there's a free rusher. And not only that, it's one thing if you get a free rusher off the edge and you can kind of bail and find some space, but you also have an interior rush right here. This was a third down that eventually led to the Patriots' missed field goal. People were saying, oh, why would Jacoby Brissett take a sack here? Well, in hindsight, it's easy to say he should have gone to Pop. And I wanted to make sure I was fair, and that's why I wanted to ask what his thought process was. Because it's not crazy for him to go to KJ Osborne. He's got all this room. This might be a touchdown if he hits him in stride and KJ can maybe run it in there.
Sure.
But as soon as the separation's there, he's under pressure. This is too fast of a loss, and one where, as much as you want to say, Jacoby, you got to hit these throws, it's a split-second decision for him where when he doesn't go to the first read or what could have been the first read and instead goes for the downfield option, he's getting pressured and has nowhere to go. Yep. He can't even run and throw this away, and the end zone angle gives you a better shot at that, where Mike Nwennu was going to set outside, obviously right tackle. This inside move is going to get him to hesitate, that little stutter, and then it gives a soft edge, gets inside Nwenu's chest, rips around the edge, ugly loss for Nwennu right here, ends up getting completely off balance, and you're going to have Byron Murphy, who was just a massive problem in this game, win inside against Leighton Robinson after getting into his chest. And at this point, it's like, all right, I don't really know where Jacoby Brissett is supposed to go here. Because you've also got Leonard, I think this is Leonard Williams right here, coming around the edge. There's nowhere to escape. He can't step up because Byron Murphy's already right in his lap. And as you can see, KJ Osborne is just about to get open, but there's not a whole lot Jacoby can do.
Yeah, he doesn't have time to throw at that point.
And so, and you $54 million Big Mike. Yeah, he's getting paid a lot, but he should be a guard where he would be one of the highest paid guards, understandably. And he is one of the highest paid right tackles, but also Boye Mafi is really coming on as one of the better edge rushers in the NFL. And these are the matchups you don't like for Mike Nwennu when he has to play guys who can win in different ways and put different things in his head. So this is one of those examples where, you know, you want to see Pop get the ball more, and maybe next week they just decide, you know what, let's trust our guy at the sticks. But the pass protection's got to hold up as well, and it only got severely worse as the game went on.
Yep. All right, where's Pop? Let's hear it. Sorry, take your drink first.
You're good, buddy. All right. So here's Pop, man in motion right here. I'm going to let the play run first. Another play where, look at that, Pop wide open, going over the middle of the field. But what's going on once Pop is actually open? Pressure. The second that Jacoby Brissett actually pops after reaching the top of his drop. So break this down real quick. Oh, shoot. There we go. All right, so Demario Douglas is going to come in motion and run a crossing route. That's going to put this cornerback in a disadvantage because he's going to have to try to carry him across the field, or the Seahawks can try to match it by saying, okay, you have inside leverage, you chase him, I'm going to take the guy at the point, and that's going to be KJ Osborne running a dagger, which basically just a little concept where, okay, if this route clears, then you throw behind him, then you have Hunter Henry running to the flat. And then at the top, I forget what that route is. I'm not even going to lie to you. What is this route at the top? The route at the top doesn't matter. Basically, you're going to see them switch off these routes and look, actually creates a miscommunication where this defender thinks that Pop is going to go outside and gives him all this space over the middle. If Jacoby Brissett can throw this right at the top of his drop, maybe there's a chance. But the split second it takes him to decide where he wants to go, you're seeing once again Mike Nwennu getting beat around the edge, but Darian Lowe gets beat inside. And Jacoby Brissett, to his credit, does an incredible job actually getting out of the pressure. This dude has eyes in the back of his head. So he gets out of a really sticky situation and is able to make a throw while falling back. I didn't love this live, and I still don't know if it's a great decision, to be totally honest, for a guy like Jacoby Brissett without a great arm. But Pop Douglas ends up drawing defensive pass interference because for some reason the defender decides to just shove him instead of giving him a chance to catch it. So Pop Douglas making an impact even when he doesn't physically get the ball. But this is another one of those where it's such a bam play where, maybe you can hit him a little bit sooner, but Jacoby Brissett doesn't have a whole lot of time to even read the field.
I also feel like, can he break pocket to the right here and still hit Pop in stride when you look at it from this angle?
Possibly.
That's kind of my read. There's,
But
I mean, yeah, it's bad
maybe he sees
protection,
color
but
here. Maybe he sees color. And I think
yeah,
maybe he's saying, okay, I'm going to get around and try to hit the other crosser. And then by the time he even gets out of this sack,
right.
it's all this chaos.
That middle backer is also pretty much on what looks to be essentially spy, where he is just reading the quarterback wherever he goes. So if he breaks right, he's going to read that and be right in his face with him, and he might not even be able to get the ball off in time. But
exactly.
Regardless,
but yeah, just another example of just not good enough pass protection here from the Patriots, especially from Big Mike, where you're going to see gets out there. He's fine, but then the ghost move gets him to shoot his hands. The defender gets underneath him. And obviously, he's not the reason that the sack happens, but it's a thing that gets Jacoby Brissett to have to kind of go right, left. And then obviously, Vidarian Lowe also gets walked back.
Yep.
And the sack avoidance by Jacoby Brissett was crazy all game.
Yeah.
All right. Another play where Demario Douglas is going to draw a flag against the defender. And another one where Jacoby Brissett is going to get pressured right at the top of his drop back. So this is going to be a play where, as you can see right here from Pop Douglas, he's going to run a crossing route. But one of the advantages I thought he was going to have against Devin Witherspoon was once he actually got into his kitchen, it was going to make him uncomfortable because he got such great burst out of his routes. Here you see the corner panics and tries to grab Pop, who's like, all right, if you want to grab me, I'm going to push off because it's legal.
Right.
But once Pop is actually at the top of his route, and again, it's ugly because of the interference and that kind of muddies the look. But once again, Jacoby Brissett is at the top of his drop and immediately has to deal with edge pressure. Now, he does a good job stepping up, but there's really not a whole lot of room for him still to make anything happen. Once he does step up, now Pop Douglas is open, but I think he's looking more towards the middle of the field and is just trying to make something happen with his legs, keep the play alive. This was a third down, and they still ended up getting the conversion, but you just can't have this kind of protection on a consistent basis. Again, this is early in the game still. This isn't even the fourth quarter and overtime where he was getting pressure on literally every drop back. And it's one thing if Vidarian Lowe is the only one getting beat, but you also have Michael Jordan here getting pushed back a little bit, which is why it's a little bit of a tighter pocket. Maybe if Jacoby Brissett doesn't drop his eyes, he has a chance to hit Pop Douglas. Maybe Drake May does that, but it's just not a situation that you want this kind of quarterback in when he's already not really looking downfield very often and exploiting these matchups. You at least got to give him a second to scan the protection and get to his first couple of reads before he's running for his life.
I was going to say, when he, right here, yeah, in theory, he could flick of the wrist, get that to Pop, but you don't know where that ball's going if he's throwing off platform like that. So it's almost a better decision to just eat it, but it just goes to show that obviously it's not on Pop. Pop's getting open. And obviously, I don't even think obviously there's some play calling that could be done, right? They can get the ball in his hands quickly and get him in space, what have you. But this is just all on the protection. Jacoby has no time to even attempt to read this thing through. And I will say kudos to him, aside from that sack that he took in arguably the most critical spot, the fact that he wasn't sacked here and is able to still get positive yards is pretty incredible.
Yeah, he was just trying to pick up the conversion. It was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. I can't really blame him here for just being you know what, maybe I won't risk it. Oh my God, my computer just went rogue. But yeah, another protection issue. And now the last two clips I'm going to highlight from the Patriots passing attack was it got worse, and it was really bad in the end of half situation. So the Patriots got some flack. They went for a draw play that only got a couple yards. Then they tried to pass again, and it didn't work. And they tried to go for it on 3rd and 8. They're actually going to keep Hunter Henry in to chip. They have the running back in to protect as well, just in case it's a blitz, because this is an obvious passing situation. They want to make sure they have enough bodies to stay in protection. And they're going to try to go downfield and convert this. And here is where Gerard Mayo saying that it was about execution more than coaching makes sense. Because you can question the decision, but they should have had a conversion here for multiple reasons. It was just, one, a failure of the pass protection, and then just not finishing when you get an opportunity. So I'm going to run it through one time. Once again, Jacoby Brissett making magic happen with his legs, gets out of the pocket, throws to Hunter Henry, but the ground causes the ball to bounce out, and Hunter Henry can't bring it in. Despite having a great game, this was a really big drop in Hunter Henry there.
And looks like he's dead on the sideline.
I honestly thought he was not okay. This guy's
so did I. I thought he was hurt.
All right, so let's break down this play, talk about what exactly happens. So Brissett was actually going to have 2 open options on this play. So they're going to try to make this look like the cross dagger that we showed last time, where it's like Demario Douglas on a crosser and then a dig behind it. But what's actually going to happen is Jalen Polk is going to show that dig and then break outside. Demario Douglas is going to start stemming inside before going vertical. And then we're going to get Hunter Henry on a route, basically just a shallow route. After he chips, he's going to leak out. And then to the backside, you're going to get a dig from Tyquan Thornton. Basically, if he doesn't like what he gets frontside Jacoby Brissett, he can go backside to Tyquan. Now, when you see the routes play out themselves, look at that. Space in the cover 2 zone for Jalen Polk. Space backside to Tyquan Thornton.
Yep.
And this is with the chip help on the right side from Hunter Henry and the running back into protection just in case there's a blitz. But Vidarian Lowe gets beat around the edge very quickly. Jacoby Brissett on the 5-step drop. Usually he would step up, but there's also inside pressure, so he has to make Byron Murphy miss as well. Still makes a great play to get outside the pocket, but like I mentioned, he tries to hit Henry, who does a solid job getting himself open and finding space. Can't make the play on the sideline. Then I'll run this real quick from the end zone angle. Top of the drop, Vidarian Lowe gets beat with the inside stutter to an outside move. Tries to shoot that outside hand just to slow the rusher down and then push him around the edge. But he gets his hand knocked down. Soft corner. Edge rusher Boye Mafi does a good job still keeping himself clean to get around the edge. And then on the inside, Boye Mafi with David Andrews. Just not a fair matchup. We love Bear, but he should not be in this situation against an explosive interior rusher.
Nope.
Byron Murphy gets in his chest, shoves him aside. Jacoby Juke, such a ridiculous play by him. Also scrambles out, makes a catchable throw, and it's not easy by him.
Yeah,
I don't want
right.
to make it look like it's easy by any stretch of the imagination, but can't finish.
Doing
And
the best he can with the situation. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, buddy. What was that?
No, just that he's doing the best he can with this situation. Yeah, I guess that's a catchable ball, but you also can't expect Hunter Henry to come down with it necessarily either.
No, and that's totally fair, but it's just because Hunter Henry's so good in those situations.
100%.
Like, he would. Again, not totally on him, but this is one of those where, yes, it does come down to a lack of execution because the scheme worked. They had open options against cover 2. They just couldn't make it happen. Now, here's another one. This was before the end of regulation. Patriots just trying to get themselves into field goal range in a tie game. But once again, despite having multiple options, if he'd had any time, Jacoby Brissett is unable to make anything happen and ends up getting taken down. And they had to give the ball back to the Seahawks. Eventually leads to overtime. Now, on this play, you are going to get a crossing route from Hunter Henry. You're going to get, oh my God, I completely blanked on what the route concept is. I'm not even going to lie to you. It's Pop Douglas on a seam route where he does a good job getting into the blind spot, getting the corner to get his hips flipped to the sideline and then breaking in. And then to this side, you're going to have a curl just short of the sticks, and you're going to have something similar to this side. Now, I understand not going to Pop in the situation, even though he wins this way. If you are Drake May in the situation, maybe you throw to Pop and say middle of the field. I love it. You can maybe even go to Hunter Henry right here because he's got the leverage advantage. He's a big body, kind of like in the red zone where I'm saying, hey, I would maybe at least give my guy a chance.
Right.
Then right here, you also have KJ Osborne open, not at the sticks, but because he gets his defender upfield, if you throw that on time, maybe you got a shot. But Jacoby can't get to any of these frontside options because once again, both of his tackles get smoked. As soon as he gets to the top of his drop, he has to stand up in the pocket and then just basically has to run into pressure. And it's frustrating because once again, it's not the scheme. You have opportunities to throw to 3 different players front side. You got, once again, KJ Osborne, Hunter Henry, and then Demario Douglas is coming open on this seam route with the free safety not able to make a play on this if you wanted to go deep. I would understand if Jacoby Brissett didn't want to go with the deep ball, if he wanted to throw to the 6, what have you, but we will never know what he wanted to do because, once again, the tackles just get smoked immediately in an obvious passing situation.
Yeah, that's just – it doesn't allow anything. It's not conducive to any productive offense. And, they run they're getting yardage and they're making stuff happen early in the game, but when push comes to shove and you need to throw the ball downfield, they just can't do it. And, you could argue, and like you said, it's not the scheme. Some would say, well, you can still scheme it up and get the ball out quickly, and you don't need to necessarily rely on the protection. And the fact that he has to even do this in this situation is because they're not calling the right plays, because they're expecting to get the ball downfield. But this is the situation where you have to do it. There's some times where, you just have to, you have to throw the football downfield. Long story short, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna do.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
I just DM'd you behind the scenes. That was
that's
bad
okay.
timing.
No, that's okay. That's I have to be better at reading what you're telling me behind the scenes so that we can still stay live here. But no, you have to push the ball downfield sometimes, regardless, and you need to have the pressure to at least, or the protection to at least be able to do it sometimes. So the fact that you can scheme it up earlier in the game, and you can maybe not rely on a deep passing game all day long, but there are times when you just have to do it. And the fact that even in those dire straits they can't do it is, in my opinion, it all stems from the offensive line. It's the beginning of the end of this problem. And I don't know exactly where they go from here, because it's been so bad along the offensive line for so long. So, do we want to do it, Taylor? Do you want to cut it?
Oh, honestly, so we were experimenting with a different format. I was hoping maybe I could get more clips in, try to weave a story together a little more in depth.
Sure.
We are clearly at an hour and a half. Didn't mean to go this deep, and I had a lot more for Mondre. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe we'll write something up and talk about the run game, because it did get better. The outside zone scheme is looking improved. Antonio Gibson, obviously, with that awesome run that he had towards the end of the game on the pitch, where he gets blown up in the backfield and turns it into a big run. We'll try to have some kind of breakdown on that if we can, but this did go way over. That is my bad.
No, it's not your, but it's
we hit on the big things. There were things that needed to get corrected, and I would say those are the biggest storylines in the game. So at least we covered those. Sorry.
I will say, Taylor, on that note, and before we get out of here and we wrap this thing up, to everybody watching, we obviously appreciate it. Everybody wants to see your expertise in the film breakdown in the field. I don't think you went too long. Patriots did not practice in an hour and a half. We didn't have other things to do before that. We could maybe go longer here. So again, it's not on you. I think I like the format. I think everybody else likes the format. The other thing I'll note is that we hit on three big topics. We hit on Christian Gonzalez locking up DK Metcalf. We hit on Keon White, who's been one of the Patriots' best defenders throughout the season. And we hit on the reason that everybody's talking about, everyone wants to know about, why the passing game stinks right now and what potentially can fix it and whatever. The thing we're not going to hit on, the thing we're going to wait on, is Ramondre Stevenson. But all we have to say on the run game is the run game is still really freaking good. So that's basically what you can take away from it is, they can't pass protect right now, but they're still able to run block. They're still able to scheme up. Obviously, the duo stuff, Ramondre looks sensational. They're even getting better at outside zone. And you mentioned it, Antonio Gibson is turning into an RB2 as well. So keep it locked in. We're going to have some stuff on the run game, even though we couldn't get it into today's film breakdown because we're at an hour and 26 minutes. Not Taylor's fault. Everyone likes your stuff, Taylor. We appreciate you taking the time to do this with us and allowing me to walk the dog here as your host and continue on. So we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Again, we touched on three big things. We'll get to one more on Twitter or on CLNSmedia.com, so make sure you tune in for that. Myself and Taylor heading to the Meadowlands in a few days to cover Patriots versus Jets in person. So we'll have you covered there with everything. We're heading down to Foxborough in a few minutes. We'll have some stand-ups from there. We'll have coverage there. So make sure you tune in for all of it here on Patriots Press Pass. So again, a reminder that to keep it here locked in, we'll have stuff on CLNSmedia.com. Thank you for watching. We pour a lot into these film breakdowns. Obviously, we just went an hour and a half, like I said, so we appreciate the support and everything. Rate, review, subscribe, like the video. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace out, everybody.